This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. We're in a very romantic setting this evening with none other than the returning Brad Ray. How are you today, sir?
I'm most great. And yourself?
Fantastic, thank you very much. We are here this evening in this romantic setting to speak about a venture of yours. If you wouldn't mind giving us a little chat, some of the promotional stuff about these wonderful wines right here.
Well, I guess as you know, and we've talked over the many years that we've both trod the grape per se, this is my lineup of some of the vinous wine children that we actually produce at Zonte's Footstep. There's some of our older package that you can see that are named, because I've always believed that wine are like children. They deserve to have a name for their personality. And finally, after a long capitulation of conversations with my other business partners, I finally wanted to be able to give my children a face as well as a name to help cement the story of their individual expression and styles. So,
and which vintage did you switch over to these artist-led labels?
It basically went from the 2017 vintage reds and the 2018 vintage whites.
Right, okay.
So September a year ago.
So for those unfamiliar with Zonte's Footstep, what's the story behind that, and how did you find yourself leading the charge with that?
Oh, geez.
A potted history.
There we go. Let's just try and make it as quick and succinct instead of a war and peace. Like all of us in the wine trade, we all get to that point, be it wine trade or restaurants, where you think you know it all and you go out on your own because you want to have your own expression in your own business. So a group of us like-minded twits got together in 2003, bought a vineyard down in Langhorne Creek, and we started Zonte's Footstep. And it was really a start to try and produce Shiraz Viognier, which is still our Lake Doctor.
Yep.
And Viognier at that stage. You know, alternate varieties. We pulled out the Chardonnay from the vineyard, and at that stage there was a boulder that came up. On the boulder was a fossil, and like a good Canadian boy, I thought that we had to report it to the local museum, and lo and behold, they found out that it was actually a Diprotodon footstep, which is a giant wombat, but they also shut us down for 6 months while they did a dig. So tongue-in-cheek, the whole footstep comes from that. And the whole Zonte's, the original vineyard was planted in the 1890s to Zonte, which is a Greek currant. After World War I, Vitis vinifera, then the little German guy called Wolfie bought it in the 70s. He replanted it. It was one of his gray label vineyards. And then the group of us bought it just at the turn of the century. So as we all started in 2003, more and more wines being produced, pushing different boundaries as we look at what the industry wanted and needed, and you know, the telltales of the bellwethers of the industry juggernauts per se. And as times go and change, so do relationships and needs and wants of finances. It's now owned by Anna Fisher and myself, and we produce 16 different wines at the moment from 4 different regions, and we deal with 13 different growers.
So you say 4 different regions: Langhorne Creek, the original.
Yep.
Adelaide Hills.
Yes, correct.
McLaren Vale.
Yes, where we're based.
And
the Eden Valley, and we label that as Barossa.
Right. Okay, which makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And where would you say your wines are at today? What kind of personalities do they have?
Look, I'm an old man on the inside, crotchety and angry. And the most important thing for me is the dirt that my bank owns and the fruit that grows on it. So for me, winemaking artifact is fruit driven. It's about getting structure out of the fruit, making sure I get expression out of its regionality and giving you a sense of place, and that they're food friendly. Because at the end of the day, I'm a glorified farmer. I want you to drink my wine, enjoy it with food, and hopefully smile.
Looking at those 4 regions, what would you say the biggest challenges are to each of those regions when you're trying to make the kind of wines that you wish to make?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we all know it's Mother Nature, so you don't try and manipulate her. You have to work with her. I've been there since 1995, so I've had a good 10-15 years of, you know, even years nice fruit forward and warm, odd years cooler. Not a huge amount of variation. The last 3 have been quite a testing tale in regards to heat spikes, obviously the fires. We're in our 4th year of drought in Australia. We're the driest state and the driest continent of the world. So for me, it's water management. It's sustainability about what we're doing, making sure that whatever we take out as a net load of nitrogen to grow our fruit is to actually put it back into the soil and maintain balance. We've experimented a lot in some of the techniques that we actually use. We're running sheep through most of our vineyard these days as organic lawnmowers to reduce that footprint in regards to diesel fuel and
of course,
machine usage. I like to term it as lazy farming, so as little as I have to do to make sure that I get great fruit balance and vine balance, and it's expressive. I pick off a seed desiccation and flavor. So we're in the middle of vintage right now. Marty, if you're looking on social media back home, you're doing a great job, third year in, and we're just, he's a great assistant winemaker. He knows exactly what we're looking for in flavor precepts across our vineyards, and that's what we spend 90% of our time. Great fruit, and then our job in the winery is trying to be as minimal in impact to get the expression that we want in the bottle.
Speaking of machine usage, related at least, how are you seeing the impact of climatic change upon those 4 different vineyard sites that you're talking about?
Oh God, look, like heat degree days have gone up massively. One of the things that we've been doing in the last 5 or 6 years with canopy management, we're basically growing a double layered umbrella. We sacrifice that first set of leaf growth to help with the green vigor in establishment. That's our photosynthetic engine per se, and with the amount of sunburn and heat, we're basically losing a layer. We're going through and then through fruit thinning and leaf thinning. Most probably 6 to 8 weeks prior to picking, and just after veraison, we'll thin out the fruit, thin out the leaf, and reestablish it. So it's almost like we leave a little bit more on for insurance policy.
And you're finding that extra work does mitigate these effects?
Yeah, a little bit. To the point where I know I get the quality and quantity that we need to get to be financially feasible and produce the wine quality that we want. God, years ago, the government changed the taxing on the marc. So we used to actually have a company called Terac that would collect all the marc from the wine production, and they would turn it into brandy spirit.
Yes, yeah.
And that evaporated, so now we're working with Pete's Soils. They collect our marc. They're composting it for us, and we're using seaweed and mushroom-based soils to put back onto the vineyard, so it's more of a net theory. I mean, the winery, we put in a water collection system from the roofs, plus all of our drain systems. So basically it's 0.8 of a liter of use for liter of winemaking. Back in the days when you and I were a lot younger there, Jamie, it was a 5-to-1 ratio, as you know, with water. It's all about cleanliness. So, I think the science and the technology we have for water control and water supply has been one of the greatest benefits that we've employed and invested in. Right now it's solar energy. We have a lot of sunshine, so we might as well try and maximize what we can use that for. So reducing the amount of electricity bills that we have in the production of our wine. And just viticulturally getting back to grassroots and looking at what we're taking out of the soil and putting back to it. Companion planting.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love bees. I've bumped into a beekeeper about 4 years ago, so he now puts hives on our properties. That's what he wants. I get some honey out of it, and it's also a great bellwether to know if my microsystems that I have, those little areas, are happy. If the bees are happy, I know ecologically the whole thing is happy, and the benefit is I get a little bit of honey at the end of the year.
Excellent. Well, Brad Ray, thank you very much for joining us in Toronto once again and joining us in this ever so romantic setting.
It has been a blessing, and I do want to see you sooner than later.
Superb. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.